Good morning. This is Andy Parsons, New Stack Solutions Architect, APJ, here to show a demo of Active Cluster on VMware for the purpose of demoing in our APJ lab to showcase to your customers. So, business continuity with VMware on Active Cluster. We've built an environment for you to use to demo Active Cluster stretch pods on FlashArray. We are leveraging Red Dot AC 1 and 2, which are both iSCSI connected flash arrays. We're actually at a uniform configuration, so for this demo will be a uniform config. We're actually going to run a virtual machine running Iometer. It's a Windows server on top of an ESXi host in prod ESX02, the prod ESX cluster. We've got multipathing set up, so both arrays are connected to the host. And we've created a stretched pod and a volume called Z-AC workload, which is the volume that the Iometer virtual machine is both, its boot volume is stored on, as well as the data volume, which we will run the workload Iometer on. So we've created a stretch pod. Replication exists between the two nodes with access to Peer 1. And we are going to simulate an array failure. And how we will do that is we will actually log onto the array and we'll just shut down both controllers. You'll see the controllers being stopped. We'll lose access to the GUI on the secondary array, in this case Red.AC2. And you'll still observe the virtual machine and Iometer will continue to run, so the VM won't go down, and it will continue to run IO. We'll then see the paths on the host flip from Red.AC2 active to Red.AC1 active, and we'll see the paths for AC2 actually go to dead. We'll then restart the controller and observe the volume or the array coming back online. We'll be able to access the GUI. We'll refresh the volume multipath setting in VMware, and we should see the IO, the paths return back to normal. So just in the slide demo, so we're going to move this volume by shutting down the array, and we're going to move it over to this AC1. So let's begin. So here you can see I've got two arrays. I've got Red.AC2 running Purity 5.25. There's not really any load going on it. And then you've got this Red.AC1, which in this instance is our secondary. So what we're going to do is we're going to log on to the workload generator first thing. Now we'll just close that so you can see I've already actually created a profile on the desktop, so you can just click on that IO profile, our Iometer application, and it will launch the application. There's a pre-built profile on this file. It's just going to do 75% reads, and it's going to write on the D drive. And we've set up an interval, I think, of a 1 second interval. So you should be able to see workload running. So I'll go ahead and hit start. You can see it's starting to generate some workload. Now we'll go over to the arrays and we'll start seeing that go. We got 700 gigs or 500 gigs, 700 gigs of mirrored writes, and then about 1.8 gigs of reads, 2 gigs of reads. So you can see that the workload is in fact running on this node. So if we go to health, and then we go to connections, we'll see the IQN. So just pay attention to this number 693. So IQN, the ID 693. We'll go back to the dashboard, and I'm going to now open up the ESXi host. So this is running on prod ESX02. And if you look here, you can see active IO. And if you look at the targets, you'll see that IQN, in fact, it is running on the target with the ID 693. Did I say 693? Anyways, so it's running on that target. Now there's a secondary one here with a target of 7A1. So if we were to go to Red.AC1, and go to health and then go to connections, you'll see that its IQN is 7A1. And you can see there's no fiber connected here, so it's just iSCSI. So we'll go back to dashboard. Now you can see if you go to replication, you can see a bit of a spike there because I'm all of a sudden starting to write volumes of that data, and it's unique writes, so it's changing. So there's some new data that's being replicated across. So got the virtual machine running I/O. So let's kill the array and see what happens. So we're just going to go into CT0 and CT1, and you can log into this with PureEng. There'll be documentation for you SEs and AEs that want to do this on the wiki on how to log into the array to perform this function. So we're just going to do a pure ADM stop on CT0, and we're going to do a pure ADM stop on CT1. So we'll see purity and its services come offline. Now if we go back to the arrays, you can see, I should go back here to the dashboard. So we didn't kill red.ac1. We see a pause because we paused the I/O. Now red.ac2 effectively has calmed down. So if we do a refresh, the UI is off and no longer serving I/O. And you can see that bandwidth is now picked up and we're doing reads and writes. There's no mirrored writes because we don't have anything to mirror to because the array is down. So we've got reads and writes occurring. Now if we go back to that virtual machine, we should see that, yep, it's still online. It's still generating a workload. No failure of the virtual machine. And if we go into the ESX host, so it's running on prod ESX2, the I/O was on red.ac2 with that 693 IQN. Now you can see that it's running active I/O, and the other array, which is red.ac1, is active, but there's no I/O serving it, and that was that IQN 7A1. So let's refresh. Well, what we should see is the status of this controller, or these targets should go to offline, or dead, I should say. So that did in fact go to dead. If we resort this, we'll see that now active I/O is being serviced by the array with this IQN 7A1, which is this other controller, or this other array. So we can see I/O is running. We can see the other controller is offline, and the virtual machine has not missed a beat. So let's go ahead and restart Purity. So now we've restored this array, and let's bring it back up. Maybe power just came back onto this site, and the array is now online, and everything's coming back online. So we'll go back to this window. Now this will take a minute or two for the UI to come back up. We'll go ahead and hit refresh. We've got the UI back online. We're just going to log in. Now let's go to replication and see what's going on there. So we had that I/O pause, so obviously there's nothing to replicate to, right? It wasn't able to write anything because there is a bit of a pause there because nothing to replicate to. Let's do that one more time. And we can see that, again, we have mirrored writes. So you can see here, this is that 12-second gap, or that, I should say 12 seconds. This is that period between that array was offline. And we've now started syncing or writing mirrored writes back over to this other array. So if we go to the dashboard, you can see that here's the period of when the controller was offline. Here's the period when the controller came back online and started responding. And it's sending mirrored writes back over again. Now, we've brought the controller back on. Let's go back into VMware and have a look. So we still have these paths dead. Let's hit a refresh. We should see these paths come back to life. Might have to do it a couple times. Oh, there we go. So now we have all the paths are back online. I/O is being serviced by red.ac1 as it is continuing to run to serve I/O. So this concludes the demo. This will be published on the wiki along with instructions on how to access each of the devices. So to run this demo to summary, you will need to have access to prod ESX, or excuse me, SRV, VCO1 or 2, preferably 2, as that's where the array, this demo is running. You will also need access to the virtual machine AC workload 02, which is a Windows server. You can just RDP into it with pure user. And then there's the iometer application on the desktop. You'll then SSH into both controllers, CT0 and CT1. And then, of course, you'll want to have access to the UIs so that you can demonstrate all of the functions of the array. You can email me at aparsons@purestorage.com. You can give me a call, send me a Slack message on either directly or through the NewStack channel to get information and support on running this demo. Thank you for your time.